In this section of videos, we're going to take a look at the cash management module. So we're going to go to our applications dropdown, click on cash management, and we're going to hit the setup tab, and we're first going to look at the configuration screen. So I know we've gone through this already in another video, but we just want to reiterate everything that we went through already and just make sure that you understand that you can go directly to the bank account, but if you are using undeposited funds, which I would say 85% of our clients do, it acts like a holding account. So you're receiving your payments into undeposited funds. They're sitting in there until, at the end of the week, you go to the bank and you bulk deposit them into the bank. So if you're using undeposited funds, you want to make sure that you have a GL account in here for that. And if you have one in the system already, that's great. If you want to add one, you can just drop this down, click add, put in an account number that's in line with your chart of accounts, call it undeposited funds or whatever makes most sense for you. Give it a quick start category of cash and cash equivalents. And then once you've popped in the quick start category, it will default the account type, normal balance, and period end closing type for you. So once you pop in those fields, you can save it, and then you'll have your undeposited funds account in here. So my 10099 is my undeposited funds account that I want to be sending that to. So then here in your banking section, you can default the bank account for cash management. So I can drop this down and I can say I want to use ET checking as my default bank account. This can also be done at entity level. So if I drop down, if you have multiple entities, you can drop this down, click into your entities, and within the configuration screen for cash management, then you can say, maybe I want to use a different account for cash management. So maybe I want to use ET checking for this particular entity. So you can also change that by entity. So if you made any changes there, you can save, otherwise you can cancel out of it. And then you do want to make sure that you have, at this point, your accounts set up in the system. So within your checking accounts, then if I edit here beside my ET checking, I know we've mentioned this before, but it's one GL account per bank account. And your GL account and your location, once you have transactions tied to the bank account in the system, you will not be able to edit the GL account and location that are associated with the bank account. So as you can see, these are grayed out. I have transactions tied to this account. I cannot now edit the GL account or the location. And when you're setting up your accounts, your checking accounts, you have to tie them to a location. That does not necessarily mean that you can't use that bank account with other entities. And then this applied rule set, if you are using bank feeds or you're using the import function for reconciliation, then you will need to have a rule set applied to your bank account in order to reconcile. If you're not going to bother with matching and you just want to do your regular reconciliations, that's absolutely fine. You don't need to put one in here. But if you're using bank feeds or if you're doing the import function, you do need to have an applied rule set here. And you can do a lot with the matching and the creation rules. And we do have a series of videos that goes through turning on your bank feeds, setting up those rules and getting those rule sets in and making sure that they're applied to your accounts. So you want to make sure it's one GL account per bank account. Definitely you need your account set up at this point. And if you're using bank feeds or if you're using the import templates for matching, you need to have a rule set applied. And like I said, there is a whole section of videos where we go through turning on the bank feeds and setting up these matching and creation rules. We also have videos on the credit card transactions, doing charge payoffs. So if that's something that you're interested in, then definitely I suggest, finding those videos and getting yourself familiarized with that. Another thing I want to mention on your accounts is if you set them up at top level, you will be reconciling them at top level. If you decided to set up your bank accounts at entity level, then you'll reconcile them at entity level. So let's say you set up your bank accounts at top level and you go to entity level to try and reconcile. You actually won't even see those bank accounts when you try to do that. So you'll have made that decision yourself where you want to set up your bank accounts. But if they're set up at top level, reconcile at top level, set up at entity level, reconcile at entity level. And here in your cash management module is where you do your reconciliations, and we'll have videos later in this section where we go through doing reconciliations, and we'll do a reconciliation if you're not using the matching function, so just like a regular reconciliation. And we'll also show you if you are using, the import function or bank feeds and how you can do that matching. So that'll be covered later in the process. Then the next set of videos are going to go through these transactions that you can do within cash management. So stay tuned for that. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the transactions within cash management. So I'm going to navigate down to my entity level here, because you should be doing transactions at entity level unless you have a specific scenario in which you're doing them at top level. So I'm going to go to my cash management module, and then I'm going to click first on my other receipts. So if you're receiving money into the system, but you do not have an invoice for it, then you can use this other receipts function. If you use other receipts, you actually do not even need to have a customer in the system for an other receipt. So this payer takes place of the customer name, and this payer field will show up in the customer field if you're pulling reports. So let's just say I'm receiving money from XYZ. The payment method is check, but you can change that here. I have this set up as my default. And then what is the transaction date? I'm going to just keep it as today's date. And then you have the option to go either directly to the bank account or to choose undeposited funds. So if you're going to the bank account, then, it gives you a drop down for your accounts and you can choose which one you want to go to, or you can go to undeposited funds and it should default in the undeposited funds account from your configuration setup. So about 85% of our clients use undeposited funds. So I'm going to go to undeposited funds and show you the next step after that. So I'm receiving this money. Anything with the red asterisk is required, and I'm going to send it to a rent revenue account, and I'm getting in 8,500. Let me put in a department as well. And location is always required, and that defaulted in because I'm at entity level. So I'm going to save that transaction. And these other receipts can be deleted out if they haven't been deposited. This, I believe, was not deposited, but it was created at entity level, so I'd have to go to entity level to delete that out. But this that I just created, I can delete it out of here. If they had been deposited, then you'd have to reverse them out of the system. So the next step in that process then is to go to deposits and deposit that money then to the bank. So I have received that check into my undeposited funds account, and now I want to go to the bank and actually put that money into the bank. So I'm going to hit my deposit. I'm going to decide which bank account I want to send that to. So I'm going to go to my ET checking. That's actually the only thing that you need to put in here. And if you hit continue, it will bring up all of the checks that are available for deposit into that bank account. So I have a few here, but I'm just going to select my XYZ, and the date is going to default in there as today's date. And I'm just actually going to select check here for my payment method. You can obviously put additional information into these fields if that's something that you require. So I'm going to save that then, and that money now has been deposited into my ET checking bank account. So the next transaction I'm going to show you is a funds transfer, and wherever you see this little green plus button, you can add directly from the menu. So I'm going to hit that. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to transfer money from my checking account to my savings account. So I'm going to transfer $25,000 on today's date, and I can put in any of the coding that I want here for this transaction. So really simple to just do that funds transfer within the system. So I'm transferring $25,000 from ET checking into ET savings, and I'm going to hit save, and it's as simple as that. My interest and charges then, if you need to put interest and charges into the system, then you would select the bank account that they're going to. And I've selected service charge here, and this bank charges GL account is defaulting in because that's what I have set up on my bank account. So if I go to top level and I look at cash management and take a look at my checking account for my ET checking, down here in my accounting information section, I have told the system for service charges I wanted to default to my 63,810 account, and for interest earned I wanted to default to my 48,000 account. So in my interest and charges section, when I pick my bank account, depending on if I'm doing service charge or interest earned, it's going to default in that GL account for me based on what I've set up at that bank account level. So interest earned here, I'm just going to say 35.50 and hit save. So anything with the red asterisk again is required. And I do have a requirement here to put department on when I use the GL account 48,000. So I have to put in a department. So I'm going to hit save again and that should go through. And then we're also going to take a look at doing a manual payment. So if you're paying somebody out of the system, but you do not have a bill in the system for that, you can use the manual payment function. So I'm going to click the little plus button on this. When you're doing a manual payment, you do have to select the vendor. So you can put in your payment method. I'm going to stick with check. I'm paying out of my ET checking, my regular checking account. The date is going to default in as today's. You can override that. And then I'm going to pick, let's say, Ace Drywall. You could also put in maybe miscellaneous vendor here if you needed to, or something like that. But choose your vendor, put in the amount. So I'm paying him $500. I do have to put in a check number. So put in whatever check number that you need here. And then I do have bill number required for manual payments. That's the setup in my configuration. You may not be requiring bill numbers on manual payments. And if you don't, that's totally fine. And then down here in your entry screen, you can put in whatever coding you need. If I select something on my entry screen, it gives me the option to show details and shows you all of the possible dimensions that you can code to this transaction. So to move this around, I can hit more actions, edit entries layout, and I can get rid of some of these fields that I don't necessarily need. So you're going to make this look whatever way makes the most sense to you for when you're doing your coding. Like if you want project cost go cost type item, that's totally fine. So whatever way you want to organize this main entry screen so that you don't have to click in to show details to get to the coding that you need. Once you're happy with that, then I would say apply the layout changes to all forms. So whether you're creating a new transaction, editing a transaction, or just coming in to view a transaction, you want the entry screen to look like this. So hit apply, layout changes to all form views, and save layout. And then down here, anything with a red asterisk is required. So let's just do 6,000 account, and I am going to save and confirm. So that is my transactions within cash management. And then we'll have another video which goes through ACH file generation.
Today I'm going to show you how to generate a standard ACH file. The Generate ACH file page contains a list of payment requests that are ready to be included in an ACH file to be sent off to your bank. This page will include any bills you paid through ACH or expenses that you intend to reimburse through ACH. This is going to be under the Cash Management module right here, Payment Files. Let's go into the ACH file generation. You'll see here a payment I made through ACH. Once I select this file to be generated, it'll automatically take me to the ACH payment file section. I can also go here to see any payment files that I've generated. I can also customize this list. I can sort by checking account, or if I had a savings account in here, vendor, employees, or a time period. So I'm going to generate this. So here's the file. I can extract through Excel, text, or PDF. And you can see here it automatically took me to the ACH payment file page. After you generate the file, you can send it off to your bank and then confirm the payment to the general ledger. If the bank can't process one of the payments, void it before you confirm the payment here. Lastly, I'm going to show you where you can close and open your subledger. This is where you can close it. And if you need to open it, you would do so right here.
So in this video, we're going to take a look at how to do your bank reconciliations. So your initial bank rec, We have a separate video on that. That's a slightly different process, and this is going to be for your subsequent bank reconciliations. So I'm going to navigate to my cash management module, and I am at top level because my bank accounts were set up at top level. So because they were set up at top level, I'm reconciling at top level. If you set them up at entity level, you can reconcile at entity level. So on my top level cash management, I'm going to go to the reconciliation section here, and I'm going to click on bank. And then it's going to bring up this little reconciliation box here, and I'm going to select the account that I want to reconcile. And I'm going to show you how to reconcile if you are using bank feeds and if you're not using bank feeds. So I'm going to start with the easier one, which it does not use bank feeds. So I'm going to say my ET checking 2. And you obviously have to put in your statement ending date and your statement ending balance. If you want to attach the bank statement here, then you can do that. You can drag and drop it in. So statement ending date, statement ending balance, and hit continue. That's going to bring you into your bank rec and show you all of the transactions that are in Intacct. And the goal is to clear off these transactions to get your amount to reconcile down to 0. So you can change your filters here to do all and apply, or you can say, I just want to match my debits first. And as I select these and clear them, it's going to update the number here for my debits, which you can check off on your statement to make sure that that's correct. And then you can go to your deposits and you can clear them. And, if that's the way that you prefer to do it, you can do debits first and then credits. And obviously the goal is to get your amount to reconcile down to 0. So I've cleared all my transactions now to get my amount to reconcile down to 0. And I'm basically just going to hit the reconcile button. So that's it. It's as simple as that to do the reconciliation. I'm going to say OK, and it's going to give me this report for my reconciliation, which I can print out or do what I want to do with. And then if I wanted to access that report at another time, I can go back into cash management, view reconciliation histories, and I can view that reconciliation report. I could also reopen a reconciliation if there was a mistake made on it or something like that. You can reopen a reconciliation. So that's doing a bank rec if you do not have bank feeds or you're not using import templates. So let's go back to cash management and click on bank. And now we're going to reconcile an account that does have bank feeds set up. So now I'm going to do my ET checking, put in your statement ending date and your statement ending balance and hit continue. So if you're using bank feeds or you're using imports, you're going to see 2 different tabs here. So you have your Intacct transactions and you have your bank transactions, the ones that are feeding in from the bank or the ones that are being imported using import files. So you'll come to your bank tab in here. You probably want to change your state to all, apply filters. So I do have some already matched transactions here. So if you're using matching rules, you might already have transactions that automatically matched based on the rules that you set up. So that's totally fine. And as they match, you can see that it updates the amounts up here. So they're already going towards your reconciliation. If there's transactions unmatched, then you would come in here, come to the bank. So let's say for my PDX, I'm going to hit match. And then it's going to bring up all the transactions that are in Intacct that I could match that to. So it's $80 and it's for PDX, which matches this PDX annotation for $80. So I'm going to check that off and I'm going to hit match. So now that is a match transaction. My debits have updated and my amount to reconcile is updating as well. So let me do Sage Group PLC. I'm going to hit match and then it matches this one. So I'm going to hit that and I'm going to say match. You can obviously hit match and go next. I just want to show you, my amount to reconcile has updated and my matched debits have updated. So let's say you had a transaction that came in from the bank and there was no transaction in Intacct for it. You do have this action button over here where you can actually create a transaction right here from the reconciliation, if that was something that you needed to do. But I believe that's covered in another video, so I'm not going to get into that. You can also have your creation rules, which will create those transactions automatically for you if it's set up correctly. So I'm just going to pause really quickly and I'm going to get this down to 0. Okay, so now I have matched all of my bank transactions to transactions in Intacct, and my amount to reconcile is now 0. So I still have transactions in Intacct. I only have one, but you might have several that are not cleared, which is totally fine. So I've matched my debits to my statement, my credits to my statement, and my amount to reconcile is 0. I'm just going to hit reconcile, and then that is that account reconciled for that month. And it brings up my report, and you can print that out or save it, whatever you need to do with that. And then you can come back into cash management, view reconciliations at any point, and you're going to be able to see that reconciliation report or reopen it. So that is your reconciliations, whether you're doing matching with bank feeds or import templates, or if you're not. But like I said, the initial bank reconciliation is a slightly different process, and we do have a video specifically for that. So hopefully that helps. And just another thing to mention is, if your bank accounts are set up at top level, you're reconciling at top level. If they're set up at entity level, you can reconcile at entity level. In this video, we're going to take a look at credit card transactions and payoffs. So I'm going to go to my drop down here, navigate to the cash management module, and I can see there's a section here for credit card. And it has the option to do credit card transactions, charge payoffs, or credit card charges and fees. So I can enter in credit card transactions here directly to the cash management module, and then I can create a charge payoff for those credit card transactions, which will flow over to accounts payable. It does create that AP bill for you. It's just one bill within accounts payable for that charge payoff. So it's a nice way to not junk up your accounts payable bills. So I can hit the little plus button here from the menu to bring me directly into my create credit card transaction. Anything with a red asterisk here is required, and you do have to choose a credit card. And down here on the entry screen, you can hit show details to bring up all the dimensions that you can possibly code this transaction. And of course, if you want to move this around so that it makes the most sense for your company to have whatever dimensions you're coding to on the main screen, you can hit more actions, edit entries layout, and move that around so that it makes the most sense for you. So that's how to put in a transaction manually. I'm not going to go through that with you because it's, you've seen that before. Another way to get the credit card transactions into the system is to come in here and do an import. So I'm going to click import here. I'm going to hit choose file, which opens up on my other screen. And I'm going to select my credit card transaction CSV file that I have ready to go into the system. Who do I want to email the results of this upload to? I'm going to send them to myself. So if there's any errors, that'll come through to me. And if it's successful, I'll also get an email. So I'm going to hit import then, and it's going to start that process for bringing in those transactions. That was really quick. So now I've successfully imported 10 credit card transactions, and the email just came through to tell me that that went in successfully. So I'm going to hit done, and I'm going to refresh my screen here, and I'll see those transactions pop up here that I just imported. So that's bringing in the credit card transactions. And then the next step would be to create the charge payoff. So I'm going to go to charge payoff, and I'm going to hit add. And then in here, I'm going to select my FFF 125 credit card. And I'm going to just, what date range do I want to put in? So all of those transactions that I put in were for the month of July. I'm going to apply filters, and it'll bring up just those credit card transactions for that date range. So if I want to select them all, I can hit this button up here and select all of the transactions, or, I can go through and I can select particular ones, but I know I'm going to pay off all of July at this time. So I'm going to select everything, and I am going to just change this to post. So 1659.22. And then that should create that AP bill for me. So once this posts, I'll just head over to AP and show you that bill that's been created. Okay, perfect. So now if I go to the accounts payable module, click into bills, here's my charge payoff for 1659.22. And then that can be paid from there. So that is how you use the credit card section within cash management. Credit card charges and fees, then if you have either a finance charge or another fee for your credit card, they can be entered in using that functionality. So that is credit card transactions and payoffs in a nutshell. And if you have any other questions on that, please do join a Q&A or submit a ticket.